Welcome to a new episode of Positive Talk Daily. My name is Mr. Positive. Today on Mr. Positive Live, we're talking about the best inexpensive Android smartphones you can buy in 2025. What do I mean by inexpensive Android phones? Well, that means anything that's under $300 or $400. Anything in the $200 to $100 category, and anything easily in the $100 to maybe even $50. Let's get into it right now. First off, we're on YouTube at Mr. Positive Live. Please click on the bell icon to get notified when we go live and do new videos just like this. Now, phones have become cheaper and cheaper over the last few years. And pretty much in the last 10 years, phones have become pretty much inexpensive. You can get a decent running low to mid-range smartphone. You can also get a decent older flagship phone. But today we're not talking so much about flagship level phones. We're talking more in the budget category of phones. More like decent phones, not so much the AT&T prepaid type stuff. We're talking more inexpensive Pixel phones. The A series of Samsung phones. Those type of devices. Okay. Let's get into the $50 category of phones that you can purchase that are going to be decent for your wallet, first off. When we're talking budget, you want something that's not going to cost a lot, something you can just walk in and buy. As soon as you walk in, you want something you can just buy. You don't have to go through running a credit check. You just want to walk in, get the phone, and walk out. Not have to worry about a bunch of credit checks, mail-in rebates, things like that. You walk in, you pay $40, $50, you own the phone. Maybe you want to get some insurance for it, fine. But you own it. You walk out, you own it, you purchase your minutes, you're good to go. With prepaid, you're going to get that type of option. Okay. Now, yes, compared to postpaid or contract, you are going to pay a little bit more for the phone up front, which makes sense. So if you're buying, say, let's say you're buying an A16 5G, the Samsung Galaxy A16 5G, which is a fairly common, popular phone in 2025, which can be retailing around $100 depending on what you want. You can also get it for much cheaper on a prepaid carrier, something like Nature by T-Mobile or Cricket Wireless. Sometimes Boost Mobile has it for free by just porting in a phone number or even signing up for the highest tier plan. You can almost get that phone for free. A lot of the Motorola devices we're talking about here, these are phones in the $100 to $50 range. You can get a Moto G 2024 from last year. Moto G 2024 is a decent phone. It's a 5G device, and you can have it for as low as like $40. So you can't really go wrong. There are plenty of 5G smartphones out there that don't break the bank. Now, they may not, the downfall for some of these phones may be the lack of software updates over time, because Motorola only does about 1 to 2 years of software updates and maybe 1 to 2 years of security updates. But, the phone still runs really well. You do get 120 hertz refresh rate on a lot of the Motorola devices, even as low as 90 hertz refresh rates. And the phones are still fairly good. You're getting at least 4 gigs of RAM. Some have 6 gigs of RAM. So Android has come a long ways when it comes to putting 120 hertz refresh rates, even down to as low as a $50 phone. So you really can't go wrong. Moving up to $100 range for decent, inexpensive phones, you could go with last year's A15 5G. The A15 from Samsung isn't the best 5G phone you can get, but for a budget consumer, the A15 does give you decent cameras. It does give you software updates for a good 2 to 3 years. And, Samsung supports it with the One UI software and One UI 7. It is going to be their downfall for the A15 is it lags like crazy. It's, I'm not going to lie, we've done reviews before. Check out our video we did on the A15 5G. I don't think it's a horrible phone by any means. If you don't have the money to purchase an A16, the A15 is still a usable phone, but it will lag. And even with a 90 hertz refresh rate, it's going to feel like you're using a 60 hertz panel. So be aware of that. One of the positive things about the A15 is does have an OLED display, 1080p, and it gets up to 800 nits of brightness, so that's pretty good for an inexpensive device. Moving up to $100 to $150 phones. Now we're getting into more of the mid-range category, entry-level mid-range sort of thing. So there are a lot of phones from the OnePlus series of devices. Those can be decent phones. The OnePlus series of phones come with 120 hertz refresh rates, 5,000 mAh battery, big battery life, decent cameras, and things like that. You can get many budget phones in the $100 to $150 range. From Motorola. Motorola has like a ton of them. Okay, there's the last year's Moto G Stylus 2024 that gives you a 6.6 inch display, OLED panel. You also get decent cameras on board with a 50 megapixel normal camera. You can also shoot in 4K 30, so you are getting a lot there. A 5G device. You're getting I think it's 2 years of software updates and 2 years of security updates. And you're also getting kind of a fake leather back. And you are getting IP67 water and dust resistance. And it's actually a decent overall device. I mean, you get a wireless charging for $150. Come on now. $150, you're getting wireless charging from Motorola. You're getting wireless charging on a Moto G Stylus. Also, last year's Moto G Power is in the same ballpark, right around 150, 160. And you get wireless charging. You get a IPS panel, but it's 1080p, 120 hertz refresh rate, decent MediaTek chipset, and you're getting solid specs. On the Moto G Stylus 2024, you are getting a Snapdragon 6 Gen 2 chip. Moving up to the $200 range, you're getting this year's Moto G Stylus 2025 with 3 cameras. It can shoot in 4K. It's got an OLED display. It has wireless charging, fast charging, and you're getting everything, but now you're getting a 6.7 inch display with a much bigger screen. So still a solid performing phone in the $200 range. You can also get an A-series phone. They got the A36, which comes with a decent chipset, 6.7 inch screen. You are getting OLED display and a 90 hertz refresh rate. Some of them have a 120 hertz refresh rate, but this one I believe is 90 hertz. I could be wrong, could be 120. But for the price of around $2 to $250, you really can't go wrong. A series of Samsung phones are decent. The A25 from last year, this year's A16 is still solid with a 90 hertz refresh rate, but you are getting a 1080p resolution. It's OLED. You are getting a 5,000 mAh battery and stereo speakers. Can't go wrong with Samsung. Now, there is no wireless charging. That is one of the issues of the A series of phones. Samsung does not like to give you those types of things. Some of the AI features that Galaxy AI on the S24 and S25 have, you won't see that come down to something like an A16 or the A25 or A36. You do get some of the AI features, but not everything. There's also the A56. If we're coming up into the $250 to $300 range, at the A56 with I think you can get up to 512 gigs of storage, and it's got everything you need in a smartphone, always on display. Still no wireless charging for some reason, but you are getting decent cameras, a quad camera setup, which is nice. So you're going to get decent pictures, 4K 60 recording, and much more. And getting up into the higher tier, we're talking the OnePlus series. The Nothing Phone 2A is another solid performer with a MediaTek chipset and much more. You're getting an OLED display, always on display with the Nothing Phone 2A. Decent phone right there. And getting into higher tier phones in the Android market. The Pixel 9A, the Google Pixel 9A, is a solid performer. Probably has the best chipset out of the mid-range category, and it can be had for roughly around $400. Does come with a Tensor chipset, Google's in-house chip, and it does have the same camera found on the standard Pixel 9. So if you're looking for an inexpensive phone, those are budget phones you can check out here in 2025.